Welcome to After the Rain, a storytelling podcast from Playa Lakes Joint Venture. These are the voices stewarding the land and the stories that surface after the rain. Out on the high plains of western Kansas, every drop of water matters. For farmer Joe Zellner Jr., the choice to conserve that water began with shutting something off, the pumps that once pulled from the Ogallala Aquifer.
I really embraced irrigation in the 70s, and as the years went by, the wells diminished and everything, and then it kind of come to the point where I felt like this, we need to do something different than what we're doing, because we're just pulling more water out. The table is going down. We're just going to deplete it completely if we don't stop. And I want to have drinking water, so it made me convinced that we need to do something.
Fuel and labor costs made Joe question whether his small wells were worth running. One by one, he turned them off until none of the wells on his deeded ground were left pumping.
Some of my smaller wells, I decided they were not worth economically to pump anymore. At that time, the price of fuel and labor and everything was so high that I thought I'm just going to shut them off. And so I shut all the wells I owned. I shut them all off, and presently I irrigate with just one irrigation well, and I don't own it, and the owner wishes it to be irrigated.
But stopping irrigation wasn't the only step Joe took to conserve his land and water. He also enrolled his playas, shallow, rain-fed wetlands, and the USDA conservation programs.
I went to a meeting or two about them and learned what their concept was, and the water that runs into it will eventually go down into the water table and help recharge. Those areas, I farmed them, and most of the time you don't get any production out of them. So this program, and I thought if you put it into grass, you don't have to concern yourself about planting it or anything like that. Usually what we do is just try to farm the whole field, and sometimes it'd be muddy, you'll go around it. We put it back into the grass, and I think it's a good concept. It will farm the good land, and the playas are a lot of times are not productive, so it's good for wildlife. I feel like it's a good concept for that.
By restoring the playas and planting grass buffers, Joe transformed unproductive areas into living wetlands that collected rain and runoff, filter and direct water towards the aquifer, and provide habitat for wildlife while preserving fragile topsoil.
We don't go through those areas anymore, and normally we would farm right through them, and sometimes we'd get a crop with the playa squared out and with grass around it and everything. It stopped that. If we get any recharge from the playa, I think it's a plus. Any benefit from getting water back to our water table is good.
The change hasn't just been environmental, it's also practical and profitable.
I was losing money farming the playas, and once in a while you would get a crop, but I would say on the average, most of the time you probably cut very little out of that crop out of that playa. So I think economically it's to our benefit not to farm them.
For Joe, conservation is more than today's bottom line. It's about the future of farming in western Kansas.
Western Kansas, we're a very arid area, and I just feel like by no-tilling and also doing the Playa Lake programs, we just save the topsoil, saving moisture. We went from a program where, years ago, we were not able to grow dryland corn down here, and anybody that attempted to probably were kind of laughed at, but it's kind of come, the varieties have changed, but also our tillage practices have changed. We don't we no-till, and we do things differently. The conservation has changed, and it's to the benefit of our country. It's saving the moistures, and with that, you will be. You may not need to irrigate as you're saving the moisture. Your yield may be less, but your profit may be actually more.
Some worry that not farming a playa means letting weeds take over, but Joe says the opposite is true.
I think you get an established stand of grass around that playa, and it's just better for the environment to not farm that area.
Looking ahead, Joe sees promise in conservation practices.
I feel like our yields will continue to go up. Moisture is always a concern, but I feel like for our country, the conservation practices will actually increase the value of our land. If you do the practices, the land that conservation has been performed on will have higher value than stuff that has been just conventionally farmed and not followed up with conservation practices.
His advice for other producers who hesitate to give up production ground?
I would say don't worry about that. I think you're better off not to farm it. I know it can be a little bit of a hassle to farm around a lagoon. Sometimes, if you got a big tractor, you can just farm right through it or go around it and go on. But I think in the long run, you're not spending the money on chemical seed and fertilizer in an area that probably is not going to be productive. So I would say it's better not to farm it.
By pairing irrigation reduction with playa conservation, Joe Zellner is helping keep the Ogallala Aquifer and western Kansas agriculture strong for the next generation. From Wichita County, Kansas, this is the story of one farmer, his land, and the lasting power of playas.